skipped over local backup. Very good point. I apologize for that. So built into the software is a fully functioning local backup system. So we, at other times in our history, have actually sold that local backup technology as a discrete standalone product. And this is an unlimited local backup system that lets you do versioning, full backups, incremental, differential, encrypted backups, and allows you to back up your entire system. So we believe in two-step backup. We believe in having full local backups available on site so you can do very fast recoveries, and then also backing up the most important data to the cloud. We don't charge for this technology, so this is built into the software and allows you to position this with your clients as a full solution, a solution that they can use for both local backup as well as both cloud-based backup. So they don't need to make a choice between the two. They can use both. Got some questions here about whether or not the local backup is image-based. It's not. We use our own proprietary technology to do those backups, and we're looking to add bare metal recovery into that system in the new year. So that's a feature that you can keep your eye out for. Just looking at some previous questions here. Okay, it's all about local backup, right? So you can filter the file sets. You can tell the system what types of files to back up, what types of files to ignore, etc. Powerful media recovery. This is important. So the ability to do a full system recovery back to any date in time that you can actually, that your backups have run. So it's very similar to Apple's time machine feature. We've actually been doing it for longer than Apple. We just didn't trademark the term. But you see the calendar control here. On the calendar control, all of the dates that a backup have ever run will show up in bold on that calendar. You can then select that point in time so that you can roll back to that point in time. Scheduling can be set up so it's either done continuously or whether it's done on an intermittent schedule, so hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, etc. Sharing, we can share files or folders straight from the cloud, which is a functionality you don't see elsewhere. Unlimited versioning, so the product will keep an unlimited version history of files that it's backing up. And this is a very powerful feature. This doesn't cost you anything or your customers anything. So we end up storing hundreds of versions for files in our cloud, allowing you to roll back to any point in time. This is actually very important in terms of making the software HIPAA compliant, Sarbanes-Oxley compliant, is that we've got that entire encrypted version history there for you. Coupling that with the recovery system where you can roll back to any point in time, it makes recovery extremely simple because you don't have version management to worry about. With all the competitive platforms, they only keep 30 versions. So if you want to roll back and see data as it existed 2 months ago, you're pretty much out of luck. With the SOS system, you've got an unlimited version history that you can roll back to, which is extremely powerful and one of our most popular features. If you then couple that with archiving, unlimited archiving to the right, it's probably our second most popular feature, and it just needs a little bit of background explication. In the industry, there's a debate going on about whether or not online backup and archiving are the same thing. So I'll tell you first what our competitors do, and then you can and then I'll explain what we do, and you can see the difference. What our competition does is if you back up a file and you're backing that up to the cloud every day, then you delete that file from your local computer. They then delete that file from the cloud. And they do that on the basis that the cloud should reflect what's on your machine. What SOS does, by contrast, is if you're backing up a file from your computer to the cloud and you delete the file from the computer, we keep the file in the cloud. And we do that because among our user base and with the research that we've done, more than 60% of recoveries that are done on our system are done for purposes of because data has been misplaced or accidentally deleted. And there's nearly 100% intersection with those being single file recoveries. So what we see is that the system is mainly used, or the majority of recoveries on the system are used for single files to be recovered because the file's been lost or deleted. So if we were deleting that file from the cloud, then we'd be underserving 60% of the market. So we don't understand why other companies don't archive. We think it's a crazy product design decision. So built into the SOS product is unlimited archiving for you and for all your customers, and that's done at our cost free of charge. And that's then very important if you're selling into the business market, you're selling to medical businesses, if you're in the HIPAA vertical, or if you're selling to other businesses that are subject to regulatory requirements. So, for example, businesses that are subject to Sarbanes-Oxley. So the powerful recovery, the calendar-based recovery, the unlimited versioning, and unlimited archiving are three of our most popular features and very important in terms of you selling this through to your customers. Before I move on and talk about the partnership model, I just want to spin through a bunch of questions that we've got here. So I'm going to go in reverse, actually. Some of my clients are using a Cronus True Image. If we added this, could we continue to use a Cronus alongside? Absolutely. A lot of our customers, the reason we haven't added disk imaging into our product is it's now free, included in Vista, Windows Vista and Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008. So pretty much all of your customers, if they're on those OSs, and I think a lot of them would be by now, they've got free disk imaging products available to them. So we recommend using those technologies in combination with ours. If your customer's using a Cronus, okay, you can combine a Cronus with ours. A Cronus's online backup technology is pretty weak. So coupling our online backup technology with the Cronus disk imaging, that's a pretty common deployment pattern. Does unlimited versioning and archiving add to the customer's overall monthly cost? Absolutely not. No, SOS bears the cost of those things. So in the case of a stolen computer, what would be required in order to recover the local backup? Windows, drivers, software beforehand. If you just had the data that you were recovering, then that's exactly what you'd need to do a full recovery. You'd need Windows, drivers, software, and then you'd recover your data. If you had backed up a disk image to the cloud, then you could just load the disk image, for example. Okay. In terms of security and access, if my clients want to make sure that no governmental body can access their data without notification, what are the security protocols? So if you use the ultra-safe security mode within the SOS software, we simply cannot provide data to anybody, even if served with a subpoena. We've never been served with a subpoena, and we've been in business a long time, so I don't actually think it's a real live threat. But even if it were to occur and you're using our private key ultra-safe security, the only people who could provide that data to a third party would be you yourself. Do you support Linux backups? We do support backing up Linux through Samba shares, so we don't have a native Linux client, but because mapped network drive backups built into the product, unlike our competition, by the way, who don't support mapped network drives, so neither Carbonite nor Mozy supports that. Our deployment recommendation for Linux is to map a share from a designated backup server on the network. So the most common deployment scenario we see is you'll designate one server on the network to be the backup server, and then on all the other Windows and Linux and Unix machines that you want to back up, you'll share the file and then run the backup across the network into that central backup machine and then have it back up to the cloud. Does that make sense? Are the local backups bare metal? Okay, I think we've covered that. We just talked about Linux. Have we considered a partnership with Google to become their cloud-based backup provider? Sure. We're not waiting by the phone, though. Google has a tendency of doing most of their things in-house. Not just use smartphone to manage backups, but actually back up the user's device. So you can back up iPhones and BlackBerries. You can't back up Androids or Windows smartphones yet. We will be adding Windows smartphones and Androids to that list later. Right now, with those phones, you can access, recover, share, and manage, but you can't back up. How long is version history kept? Forever, so it's an unlimited version history until you tell us to remove it. Physical media recovery service turnaround times. It's usually a 24-hour turnaround, but it can be 48 hours. Okay. A few more questions down the bottom here. Sorry that I've overlooked. Can a customer continue to use current backup package for local backup during verification phase of rolling product out? Certainly, you don't have to go, I mean, you don't ever have to use our local backup technology. You could just use our online backup technology, or you could do both. How many copies of data do you maintain in the cloud? If I can get a clarification of that, I'm not quite sure what you mean. We keep an unlimited history of versions, if that's what you mean. And we always store data in 2 geographically distinct redundant data centers, which perhaps that's what you mean. So most of our competitors have 1 or 2 data centers. We've got 11 worldwide, which gives us great ability to have built-in redundancy on the back end. Yeah, we're compatible with backup exec system recovery images. Okay. We've got some questions here about management consoles. We've got a pretty powerful management console. So that's in the Pulse system, which we'll be covering. We probably won't be covering that today, but if you want to look at the webinar archive, you'll see a webinar archive on Pulse, and you can see a lot of detailed information about how that lets you manage your private backup cloud of up to 5,000 PCs. What storage technology do you use? We've got our own proprietary storage technology that we use on the back end. What are the key points that decide the price of the backup services? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, so if you could expand on that, that would be appreciated. I do not believe you can run a Windows 7 native backup to a network share. How do we deal with that? I'm not quite sure what you mean. You wouldn't be using Windows 7 native backup if you're using SOS. So SOS can run over both to a network share and from a network share. So SOS doesn't have any problem with that. Can a customer continue to use their existing backup product, local backup product? Yes, of course you can, and then just use that to back up to the cloud. With Hyper-V, do you recommend backing up the physical server with VHDs or back up individual virtual machines? Really depends upon your environment. If those virtual machines are small, then we recommend running the backup on the host machine and backing up the VHDs. If those virtual machines are very large, then you would probably run the backup within the virtual machine itself. Do you mention Exchange and SQL agents? I don't think I caught it if you did. Yeah, so we've got our complex environment support, CES, SOS CES, is the product that we sell for both Exchange and for SQL. And it's a fully managed backup service for your customers. So we will take over the backup management for a server for you, and it's $25 a month or $300 a year for us to take over the total backup and recovery management service for server-based OSs. It's a very powerful solution. It's fully branded to you, so your customers will never know that you're outsourcing that to us. And very popular among our partners because none of our partners can actually do full management of a server like that for as little as $25 a month. Okay, so lots more questions coming in. I'll answer a few more and then I'll get back to the presentation and then do the rest of the questions at the end. What is the back-end file system? It's proprietary technology that we don't usually talk about in public forums. Is the Exchange backup incremental or full on a daily basis? It can be. It can be done brick level or it can be done full database. We can set it up however you need it to be set up. How resource intensive is the software? Not particularly resource intensive because it only runs when you are actually running a backup. So most other systems will run all of the time. We only run when a backup is running. So that then dramatically reduces the overall utilization of resources on the system. What's the pricing model for partners? We're going to be doing that. The next comment is a great one. Isn't this meant to be about how you're pricing online backup? It absolutely is. And we've been bogged down in a discussion of the technology and the features because I've been answering the questions that we've been getting. So I apologize to that audience member who's obviously keen to hear about how to price, which is going to be in the next section. And we've got another 30 questions that have come in here. So I'm going to move back to the presentation, and then I promise to answer all of these questions when we get to the Q&A section at the end. So let's turn now to the partnership model and how you can sell and price online backup for your customers. So I think we've covered it at a high level, the fact that everything I just talked about is applicable to you. So you get to take advantage of our infrastructure, our product and our software, our billing solutions, our marketing solutions, our sales force, and our training solutions, and of course our technical support. And all of that is then made available to you as if it was yours to control. It's one of the great things about SOS is everything you've heard about today that applies to us can apply to you, from our 11 data centers all the way through to our sales team. So our sales team will actually attend sales calls with you and be part of your sales force effectively. So the way partners usually work with their sales team is when dealing with your prospects, when you need to bring in your backup specialist, you'll conference in our staff member who will show up as your backup specialist, and you've got an ongoing relationship with, we call them partner specialists. Your partner specialist will support you from a sales standpoint all the